and also relevant to all corners of the world, especially the global south, or we need to take into account the potential harms. And so in that regard, I guess, ethical AI, from my perspective, should also additionally emphasize cultural sensitivities and economic considerations, being mindful of the economic disparities and the unique challenges faced by countries in the global south. And of course, we also have data representation, ensuring that AI systems are trained on data that is representative of the populations of the global south as well, to avoid biases. And other things that would come to my mind while defining ethical AI would be local agency, in a way, prioritizing the voices and agency of local stakeholders, ensuring that AI solutions are indeed tailored to their specific needs. So a more kind of a holistic approach, I believe, would need to be taken on board. It's really not easy to come up with a single definition that everyone can agree on, obviously. Think about the global ethical AI definition. I'll pause here.
And Lisa, just like I've been in financial service for so many years, and I think your definition, and especially in the context of being a financial service professional for so many years, how do you define the term ethical AI?
Yeah, similar to what we just heard, but keeping it very, very simple, I would say it's doing the right thing. And really focusing on adhering to well-defined ethical guidelines regarding our fundamental values. And that's how I would very simply summarize the definition of ethical AI. Yeah.
Cool. And Vinicius, what's your take on ethical AI?
So, like every other definition were very good, I would like to point to the idea that in a more, like Mary said, holistic view, I think ethical AI should be technology developed by an ethical organization that helps human expand or help support human decisions that should be ethical too, because this idea of human-centered AI, I think, is very important. And you have humans in the beginning when they develop AI, and after when they use. So if you have to be able to assess the final decision and see if it had been ethical, in my point of view.
And maybe just stay a little bit with you, because I'm a little bit curious, because as I said in the beginning, you know, there's a lot of talk in the Nordic region about ethical application of AI. But how does it look in you're sitting in Brazil, and when you are part of the conversation, what is the conversation in Brazil?
In Brazil, I think we're discussing some regulation on AI. Now, it's not like a very mature discussion. I think it's still in the beginning. You are learning from other countries, and I think some specific uses of AI have been more present in the public discussion, such as fake news and the digital platforms. But this holistic view, I think, is not well developed yet. And I think in Brazil, have, as other countries in the South Global, maybe, you have the idea of accessibility of AI. This need to reduce complexity, maybe, to make AI accessible. I think that's important in countries that are not so well developed.
Thanks. And Mary, in comparison, where you sit from and look out, you know, what's the conversation right now, and is it do you think that to some extent the hype around ethical AI, is it justified?
I mean, the ethical considerations in AI are not just merely philosophical or abstract concerns. They have real world implications for individuals and societies. And given the transformative potential of AI, it's really important to approach its development with a strong ethical foundation, to maximize its benefits and minimize its harms. I mean, a couple of issues that we need to focus here are, of course, the bias and fairness in AI models, the privacy concerns, job displacement. That's one of the things that is definitely, major concern in the global South in particular. And again, the economic and social impact, together with the transparency, explainability. Based on these concerns, I mean, I do think that the focus on ethics is actually justified in AI.
All right. Lisa, from where you sit, what concerns you the most when we talk about ethical application of AI? What are you mostly concerned with?
So I think within financial services, when we talk about AI, we're basically training AI systems on an immense amount of data. And one of the things that we've been talking about is that it is super important to ensure that these biases are just not embedded in the data. Because what ends up happening is that these biases then get ingrained in the AI algorithms, which then creates discriminatory outcomes, which is a huge problem, as we've heard from all of the other panelists. So that is really the big focus within financial services.
Cool. And I Casper, I'm just because I know you have your hands deep into this, right? So your concerns, but before you answer that question, like I still would like your take on, is it justified? Should we really be worried, and why? And what is if you have any, what's your biggest concerns?
Yes, it's justified. Whenever a radical new technology like artificial intelligence comes about, it's going to set about a sequence of changes to our society, and some of those are a little hard to predict, and that creates the need to have like try as much as we can to keep our hands on the steering wheel. And I think that one of the mistakes that we often make is that we think that we can like preemptively figure out how to steer through this change, and that's not possible. I think the debate today, which happens about regulating what ifs, is a little wasted compared to making sure that we keep our eyes on the road and our hands on the steering wheel, metaphorically speaking. So that would be my principle in thinking about how to navigate the risks. Yeah. And then allow me to move on to what I actually consider the biggest risks, because there's like a long-term scenario, which is, as I just described, super unpredictable. Well, most of us have probably heard the extinction scenario figuratively explained by Yudkowsky, for example, but also people like Tegmark has really been proposing raising this fear. And fair enough, it's a fear. It's based on a lot of assumptions, but the point is we can't rule it out. That's why the steering wheel becomes important. So there's a somewhere down the line we might have to learn to live with an intelligence that's bigger than ourselves, and that's going to be an interesting experience. I don't think it'll kill us. I seriously don't think so. Why would it? But let's keep an eye on it. Long term, in the meantime, I do have something that I think about every day actually, and that is we talk so much about AI as a tool that's going to make us more productive. And that's also what we see right now. ChatGPT generative AI does that. It's not what comes next. And what comes next is AI that does the full thing, that takes over full workflows for knowledge workers. Like it or not, just like elevator operators were made obsolete by automation, full workflows of knowledge work, from legal work to marketing work to analyst work, will be made entirely obsolete. Because AIs are moving towards agents and rational agents that can actually run over a long time and think for themselves. And that's going to be massive, how that's going to impact our society. It's not the usual people. It's going to be some of the most, I'd say, influential people actually who is going to be impacted. So I'm I'm really curious, concerned, apprehensive, but optimistic about how that will unfold.
Okay, let me just open that up a bit here also for you guys to comment on, Mary, Lisa, and Vinicius. Like, how do you see it? Now you heard a prediction here from Casper. What's let me get your comments. What do you think? Do you agree?
I can jump in. I do agree with Casper. I think that is something that we need to consider and think through and understand and plan for, and plan where we can. And I definitely think it's top of mind, and it is something that we should think through for sure. Absolutely.
Mary, what do you think?
I do have similar concerns, to be honest. I mean, the job displacement issue I already mentioned. As AI systems become more capable, I mean, there is this clear potential for job losses in particular sectors. And then that is linked to economic and social inequality increase, which then creates hostility against the improvement of AI in the masses. When you come to think of it, I mean, that has been fed by all the movies we watched about how artificial intelligence is going to take over the world, whatnot, right? But apart from that, another major concern I have here is related to bias and discrimination. As I said, AI models can perpetuate and even amplify, as we know, societal biases that are present in their training data. And that can lead to unfair outcomes, especially in sectors like criminal justice, lending, or hiring. And then that can, of course, further the kind of negative image that AI already has in I think I am hearing someone else's voice.
There's probably someone here that needs to mute their. Yeah, thanks. Good.
Or can be okay. So yeah, I mean, these are concerns that are not so easy to address, obviously, but I also am cautiously optimistic because I still think there are solutions to address these concerns, which we can speak about later, of course. So
Yeah,
I'll
no,
just
but
pause here.
yeah, thanks. But maybe let's jump into the opportunity space or the solution space here. So what should we actually do? And maybe Vinicius, I don't know if you have a take on that, but given that is the future we are looking into, what should we actually do then?
I agree with Casper, Lisa, and Mary that you have a lot of, it's justified to have ethical concerns. And one of the things I can add is the idea that finance is essential to society. And if you use the AI, but don't give more accessibility and access to finance, it turns to be too much complex to deal with that for people that don't have like a good education, formal education. So one of the things I would think of and concern is how to make the use of AI to make finance more easy to be accessed by people without losing this idea of having a conscious decision, an ethical